Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
On the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right, we're back. I just heard that we're down 5 months straight for Bitcoin. First time ever.
For Bitcoin?
Yeah.
5 months straight.
First time ever?
Straight down. Yeah.
First time ever. So
That's-
monthly candles, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. That's interesting.
5 months straight down.
I have a hard time believing that's the first time ever.
Yeah.
That seems wild.
Well, because like usually there's like a bounce, right?
Mhm.
There just
Yeah.
hasn't been like a bounce. And anytime there is, it's like quickly eaten up. Right now, let me look at the chart. It's like, yeah, it still hasn't really bounced yet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't want to bounce, dude. Which is weird. Which, I mean, it has to be due, right?
Right. I mean, it has to.
Yeah, I'm not saying like a V-shaped recovery.
No.
But definitely a bounce of some kind. I don't know. I didn't even know that. I know altcoins have been getting crushed at like record paces.
Yeah, look, that's disgusting, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a monthly, yeah.
Yeah, but we've had disgusting moments before, but I guess never for this. It's never been this long of a period of disgust, I guess. It's
Mhm.
actually very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what to take from that. If like, there's a lot of people saying there's some real systemic disruptions that, not a lot of people are privy to. If you watched like the CZ interview with Shamath.
Yeah, really great interview. Super interesting. You should watch it, TJ.
Yeah. If you really wanted to get into the mind of a sociopath.
Yeah.
Send it to me. I'll watch it.
You know what? He seemed like a very genuine guy, like in the interview.
That was the first thing I kind of returned, when I was watching it to you. I was like, it's interesting the timing of all of a sudden this like PR campaign,
Yeah.
like of course while everybody's like striking and attacking CZ, I'm talking like everybody, not just the plebs. Like we're talking
Yeah.
Kathy Woods,
Yeah.
Tom Lee, Mike Novogratz, basically all the institutional crypto bros. Like if there were any, it's them.
Yeah, they're calling it a glitch at Binance.
Yeah, whatever.
Glitch
Yeah.
with quotations.
Well, some are being even more aggressive. It's saying it's like an actual predatory system they have, where that takes advantage of their user base and like the deep liquidity that they kind of nurtured from within. It's like they have like a systemic way of just milking that business they've built, and the result of that is just systemic, pain for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you understand like the scope of the grip they have on the industry, it's like 80% of the value of crypto is basically
At Binance.
under their control. I mean, that's pretty severe, right? So having heard all that, and then you watch that interview, and it's like, I kind of like the guy still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
He tells like a nice story.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's just some guy from China, I think.
Yeah.
And he basically got chased out of that country because of China's like stance of crypto at the time.
Yeah, it banned it. So he was like, okay, we got to go to Singapore, or where'd he go? No, it was
Hong
Kong, something
Japan.
like that.
He's just all over the place, I think, trying to find his new nesting ground, right? Because he had an early belief in crypto. Before he was basically providing like software as a service for exchanges in Japan and other.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah, and that's how he got his like roots started in the industry, right? It's like, hey, I could just build better trading infrastructure for.
Yeah, he was just a guy.
Just a guy with some team of some other guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty harmless, right? He's a bootstrapper. He's a hustler.
Right.
He's trying to make it in the world, and he's like, crypto can help me there. And then he's like, okay, I guess he was trying to invest in somebody who wanted to build like a better exchange,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember those days fondly. Like there were just no good exchanges in crypto. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, let me invest in these guys. And then those guys backed out for whatever reason. He's like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. We've been building the software for years for these guys. Let's just build our own exchange
Yeah.
out of the software we have. And you got Binance.
Yeah. Poloniex was a competitor. I think Coinbase even existed, but it wasn't big.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if Coinbase at the time was only like you buy Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, that's it.
That was it. Maybe some Ripple, some Litecoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin.
The blue chips.
Yeah.
At the time, if you will. It's like there was really nothing else there. And it's like, but crypto was hot, right? It was ICO season.
Yeah.
ERC20 tokens were popping out of the woodwork. Who's going to be the big facilitator there for market euphoria, right? And that's when Binance stepped in.
Yeah. Binance was great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Trading on Binance was like, I felt like I was actually,
Yeah. Like one of the smart ones.
Yeah, I felt like I belonged on Wall Street.
Yeah.
Gave me those vibes. Like,
It's like, I can do this.
Yeah, let me put in margin call
Right.
on my TV and like Wolf of Wall Street and what's the other one? The Big Short.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys because I trade on Binance.
That's
dude.
right. Yeah, it's like you walk into the room. It's like you have your one screen. There's like 4 charts on there. You look like a genius.
Yeah. I even went to TJ. I was like, dude, build me a super rig.
Yeah.
Because I need like super rig technology to support my hot trades.
You wouldn't understand this.
Yeah. Remember TJ?
Oh, I do remember. Needed all the charts.
That's right. And then TJ built me my rig, went home with it, plugged it in. I was like, I had one monitor. It's like, one's not enough. Clearly.
You can't see all the charts on one monitor, dude.
Yeah, I'm better than this. Had my 2 displays, and yeah, you're right. 4 on each. I had 8 charts open. Dude.
That's right, yeah.
And I made sure to intentionally leave them on just so if anybody walked by.
It was like, man, he's working hard.
It's a bad motherfucker right here,
So
dude.
good.
Yeah.
That's what CZ did for me. Like for a brief moment in time, like it gave me a little bit of like an identity.
Like star power. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I'm a trader, right?
Yeah.
But then I quickly realized, I was just right place, right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no real edge. Competing edge.
And part of the reason why Binance got successful is because of their trading competition. People were trading for the Lambos.
Mm-hmm.
And that was thought of as like kind of sketch. But
I thought so.
no slap on the wrist whatsoever.
It felt sketch to me, but I was also like inexperienced, so I didn't know if this was like common practice or not. I was like asking people, like, keep in mind nobody really knew either. But I was like, does Wall Street offer Lambos to people whenever they're trading? Is that a thing?
No.
Yeah.
But Coinbase does the same thing. They offer basically like 1 Bitcoin to people. It's like you do a trade, let's say above $25. And you get a ticket to potentially win 1 Bitcoin. And so it's essentially the same thing. I mean, it's not a Lambo.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know if there's any criminality to that. It just felt weird at the time because the big one that was weird was Tron because I was there. As Tron was there, when Binance launched, it had an ICO section.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the big pool for Binance because it's like, ICOs, the narrative shifts every month, right? Just like meme coins, just like everything in crypto. There's like a new hot narrative. The hot narrative of the time was like, China, right?
Yeah.
So like Ethereum was huge, and then Neo came out. I was like, this is Ethereum of China. That was a powerful narrative. It's like, China never lets, U.S. startups infiltrate into their nation.
it's true.
They always like incubate and nurture Chinese native companies. So it's like, they're going to do it the same with blockchain. So here's Neo.
Yeah.
So that perpetuated, everybody believed in it. And so like Binance came to market with Chinese ICOs basically.
Yeah.
And Tron was one of them. And I remember like keeping eyes on it because it did literally nothing for several months. Like flat line, as flat as lines get. Right? And if you go to their landing page, it was like a black screen with like ugly font. It was the worst landing page you could ever imagine.
Right.
It's like, no way this goes anywhere. And then all of a sudden, Binance is like trading competition, Tron, and boom, chart explodes, and Tron ends up a multi-billion-dollar sensation.
Yeah.
Almost overnight.
Right.
So I was like, something don't feel right about that.
Well, his ex-girlfriend is claiming that there were shenanigans afoot.
Who's ex-girlfriend?
Tron, Justin's son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you know what the specific claims are?
No, I just shared the tweet with you. It was like she has evidence of him doing shady stuff, and that he's willing to share.
She's willing to share.
Yeah, she's willing to share with authorities. But I never followed up.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know how that just blew past my.
Yeah, I mean, I sent it to you. I'm surprised you had like not much of a reaction, but more. I think you just like assumed that was like the case. It was like, there's nothing new here.
Yeah, but for her to like say that she's willing to bring it to authorities, right? Like
yeah,
that's a big deal.
She says that she has all the WhatsApp messages and all that stuff.
Whoa. So this is my fear, right? It's like, you know, we look at this Bitcoin chart here. Clearly it's painting bear market signals and such, but then you got to question, it's like, okay, how much lower can it go from here? Because if it's a true bear market, we're like at like 50% down or something so far.
Yeah.
You know, you got to expect 70 to 80% ranges for like to declare like a true bottom here.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, typically you need some sort of like mass doom despair narrative. And this sounds like a potential candidate, right?
You think? I mean, Binance or Tron?
Maybe both. Like whatever this girl has in her DMs, you know, whatever she's about to whistleblow,
Yeah.
like that could be it. You know, and I didn't really think about it until now, but you know, but again, because it's just so odd to see all these big industry titans collectively pointing their finger at Binance all at once, as if they're trying to architect its doom, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they have some evidence that suggests that Binance did have some sort of problem over there, or maybe intentionally did it. I mean, I don't know.
It's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because they've already gotten busted for something, right? Like,
Yeah, he did go to jail
went
for
to-
3 months.
yeah.
So,
So what else could he have done?
yeah, I mean, they said that he was part of the deals for like not insider trading, but I guess funding like terrorist organizations, and he was like facilitating, like handing bags, and he wasn't.
Right.
Right. So he said he never dealt with any of the clients at Binance. So that's why he only got 3 months.
Yeah, but then like the CEO of Binance, I think recently came out and said like basically that's not true. Like CZ
yeah.
is
I need
like
to watch that too. Yeah.
Yeah, like CZ actually handles everything. So like even like internally, his own like puppets are like turning against him.
Wow.
I don't know, man. This may be a deeper drama than because we're so distracted, right? You know, AI is happening.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
it's very distracting stuff.
Very.
You know, every day there's like a new model, a new whatever, right?
Yeah.
A new way to vibe. So it's pretty awesome to where we could, you know, we could be easily distracted, and meanwhile our industry may be collapsing in real time. We don't even know it. You know.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get when I look at the chart.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like it's collapsing, but it also felt like it was collapsing back in FTX days. Banks collapsing.
But FTX came later. You see that little blip down there? Not that one.
This one right here?
That's FTX.
Yeah, that's FTX. But that was like...
I mean, it felt horrible, right?
Yeah, it felt way worse.
Yeah, it felt way
Yeah.
worse than what it looks like here.
Yeah, because it was like a 60% sell-off in a day. And then if you go back to look at COVID, it's the same situation. Look at a tiny little blip. It's like that last red candle before.
Yeah. Yeah, this
That's
is it.
COVID.
March right here.
That's COVID, guys.
Yeah, look at that volume.
This is why they tell you to zoom out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the moment, it's like, holy shit. It's like everything's over.
But this, to me, felt a lot worse. Like banks collapsing. Like I thought there was like a real problem in the structure of finance. Like for real this time.
Yeah.
But I was like, nope. And it's like, oh, there's real problems. Like, nope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but right now, it's like you just said, it's 4 subsequent months of red candles, right? 4 or 5?
5. 1,
5.
2, 3, 4, 5.
And it's never been done before. And so we're questioning, like, why? It's like, there was really nothing.
There wasn't.
There was no real catalyst for this sell-off other than
Binance. Right here.
Binance was the catalyst. So I guess it's like, what the fuck?
I think what is happening is throughout this stretch, leverage came online. And then when some glitch happens, it just like, it unravels.
Yeah, it just nuked too many people.
Yeah.
Like literally. And that's, you know, that scares certain actors away, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about scaring. I think this was all like mechanical.
Yeah, if it was mechanical on the way down, then it's mechanical on the way up too, right? Like, and there's some evidence to suggest that too. Like, Bitcoin wasn't supposed to like
go
up. I think like as what was it, like quantitative tightening was happening. Like it never used to do that, but all of a sudden it was doing that.
That's true.
Right. So there's like weird. Bitcoin's behaving very manipulated. Like it's this total zombie of a thing. It's
not
genuine anymore.
But imagine if like erase this part of the chart, right? Just forget it. And there was more like a linear line here. Like we're still like trending upwards.
For sure. Yeah. No, we're just analyzing the now, right? Again, 5
Well,
years from now, we're gonna zoom out, and it's gonna look
Yeah.
like nothing ever happened.
It's gonna look like over here.
Yeah, that's the assumption, you know,
Yeah.
or the hope, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I guess people would say that you're hopium.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know, it goes back to the whole NAT thesis. Is like Bitcoin does actually have a problem. And there was who was it? I think it was Raul Paul or somebody's claiming that Bitcoin is going to get to $1 million or something like that in like 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. But even if it does get to 1 million, it's still not high enough. That's the issue. That's like the problem. And I don't think people have really analyzed the math here as much as they think they have. And there's like a structural problem with Bitcoin. Like it's a real one. And it's as important and in terms of magnitude as quantum computing. And like nobody is really talking about it. Just like a few YouTubers, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's just I don't
know. I feel like that's kind of weird.
maybe the reason why it's just not such a loud thing because it's like an exclusive bug, if you will, to Bitcoin. But quantum is like, you know, it's a threat to society.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Quantum is like much bigger than Bitcoin. Like, you know, the threat it could potentially pose. So it gets more people concerned, I guess. But like this subsidy crisis is like such a niche understanding, and it's like only applied to Bitcoin, which is already like a very limited subset of humans who actually even understand how Bitcoin works.
Yeah, basically the 500 million holders.
Not even.
Yeah, even they don't understand.
Maybe 50 people. You know, I wouldn't even really classify myself as like I fully understand Bitcoin. Right. There's maybe 50 people on Earth who like really get it.
Yeah.
Right. Not, you know, but it's just the nature of the beast, right? So it's just not something it's not on people's radars, right? But if you appreciate Bitcoin for what it is, you know, I feel like this should be part of like the hygiene of being part of that community.
To me, it's like you take Tesla. How much Tesla is worth right now? Like $1.5 trillion or something like that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so it would be like
you
Tesla.
could say any number and I believe it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so it would be like Tesla being at roughly what Bitcoin's valued at right now, $1.5 trillion, give or take. And Elon is doing like heroin. Like that would be kind of scary if you're holding Tesla stock, right?
Yes.
Right? That would be scary.
Yeah, I was going to say somehow.
It should be scary, but somehow.
Yeah, somehow because he's Elon, right?
Yeah.
It's like he could just manage it.
If it was anybody else.
Because apparently he's like this big party guy, right? Because he's like in the Epstein files, and he was like,
he's like looking
DMing.
to party. Yeah, sure.
It's like, dude, give me like your hottest rager. That's the only time I'm coming your
All right, so what's the situation where you would hesitate buying Tesla stock? Like what sort of insider knowledge would you hesitate on buying in Tesla stock?
Oh man. Hesitate on buying Tesla stock. Maybe if there is some sort of like knowledge that Tesla was like, I don't know, there's like some Chinese infiltration going on. They're like selling secrets to China.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, there's potential like government
like treasonous.
Yeah, like treasonous
activities.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Like Elon has been selling Xi Jinping for billions of dollars, like EV secrets, right? Because he's just that awesome. And
I guess I'm trying to establish a parallel between like the knowledge of the problem within Bitcoin, like really a systemic problem.
Yeah.
To, you know, what kind of problem would be equivalent to that? And I think it's like existential problem, really, because I don't think anyone would ever like just agree to solving this problem in whatever way that they've come up with. Like, for example, making Bitcoin infinite. And like once enough halvings occur and there's one miner left, it's Foundry. How is it valuable at that point? Yeah. That I don't understand. And if that's the case, we know we're heading in that direction. I'm surprised that this isn't talked about way more.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's just again, I think we should understand the delusion effect has allowed it not to be of concern.
Yeah.
But that's my thesis. Why before we saw the price action, what it is today, I would assume it was like once Bitcoin got to its point where it was just underperforming expectations, which seems to be this is the cycle where that reality comes true. It's like it's definitely underperforming expectations. Therefore, it's like we all have to realign our perceptions of reality again and not be like delusional. It's like finally, right? And then be careful who your heroes are, right? Like most of these guys are out there, doing like DAT scammery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've been seeing a lot of like, Nakamoto is like,
David Bailey is taking advantage of his position, and
and Adam Back is part of that insider like group. Udi, all these guys who are like famous Bitcoiners, right? And they're all systemically, colluding to take advantage of retail, basically, and like this whole narrative that Bitcoin is now being institutionalized and part of traditional finance, but really it's like an insider enrichment scheme.
Sure, yeah.
To dump on people who are buying into that, right? So like these are your heroes who should be voicing the problems.
Yes, exactly.
But they're not.
They're not.
Why would they concern themselves with that? Because all they're really concerned about is
enriching themselves
and vamping the brand worth of Bitcoin and like the value of it in order to achieve that end goal, right? So it's like those are your heroes, guys. How do I know that? Because you can go to Twitter and see their follower account.
Yeah.
I see the engagements on the types of tweets they put out, and they far outweigh everybody else. So people think the way they do.
Yeah, yeah. And since they're not saying that there's a problem, there's definitely not a problem.
No problem.
Yeah.
We're going to the moon, guys.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Right? That's the vibe they put out there. Literally, pompously.
Yeah.
They'll go on a live stream and talk about how they're about to become billionaires off of all these idiots.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
They did that.
They did do that.
There's videos archived out there where they're on stream talking about, we're just smarter than everyone else. We're about to make billions off of this DAT, dude. You guys are just late to the party. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, skill issue.
Yeah, and it's like, wow. The nerve. The balls. Just
to put it out there publicly.
Yeah, so to me, that was the euphoria. Like, everybody keeps asking, like, who the hell was experiencing euphoria? It was those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The guys who were master architecting this DAT strategy, Michael Saylor included, all these motherfuckers, right? They were part of, like, they convinced everybody of this delusion and they weaponized it to enrich themselves.
Yeah, not only that, they exacerbated the problem because all those transactions that they're doing are completely off-chain. Mm-hmm. And so there's no semblance of sustainability for Bitcoin at all whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And they're building this like this house of cards on a very weak foundation.
100%. Yeah, and again, it's like if you expose, the weak cards, the whole thing can come crashing down. So there's your answer. Why are people not talking about it? It's because it's built on a house of cards.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like people like us who are not doing that. Like we're actually looking for at the core of what exists. We exist in reality.
Yeah, the physics layer, actually.
Yeah, right? So we've decided it's like, let's not be deluded. Let's recognize there's a real problem. So the core thesis of what makes Bitcoin valuable. So let's do something to address it. Hence.
And NAT.
Thankfully, it's on your shirt.
Yeah, NAT.
There it is.
Has performed pretty well in this 5-month downturn.
It's true.
It actually hasn't really gone down that much, if at all.
Yeah.
In this downturn. And I think, and then not only that, recently has been going up, and I think people are waking up to this very problem.
Yeah, it seems like it. I get those ordinals bots pings all the time. Mm-hmm. There's somebody's out there scooping, and I think it's because there are still people out there who actually pay attention and do real research, and then they're not spell captured, I guess. They're not under some spell.
Yeah,
the masses are. So, yeah, man.
I mean, this is how you do fundamental analysis. Is like you discover some sort of fundamental interpretation of the data, and you see an opportunity, and you position yourself accordingly. Mm-hmm. Like this problem is inevitable. It's just going to take some time before everyone on the planet, or those who care about Bitcoin, the big talking heads specifically, will be talking about it in the same way that Michael Saylor's talking about quantum computing.
Yeah, it's inevitable. and then that's because they're holding such massive bags and they have so much at stake.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's all per whether or not they get enough social pressure from these concerns, right? Because then people are becoming aware of these cards there at the bottom of the hill, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, enough people are scared of quantum now, so let me publicly address I'm going to do something about it.
That's right. Yeah.
So until people start pulling at the Jenga cube, the one that's labeled, you know, subsidy.
Yeah.
It's like they will do nothing, or they
Yeah.
will say nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just the rest of us living here in bottom land trying to hold up these fucking things
Yeah.
for the guys at the top.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's like we gotta like do all the hard work.
That's true.
Which it's pretty hard, dude. Trying to fix problems. Fuck.
It is hard.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a lot of people give a fuck, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like that's sort of the early days of Bitcoin. Like
Yeah.
it didn't do anything for a long time, and it didn't even get like real recognition for probably about 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a timing thing, and this is how it's supposed to be. I guess this is what it feels like to be.
And for 10 years straight or more, it was vilified. It was money for fraudsters and terrorists,
Yeah.
money launderers and child traffickers. That's what Bitcoin was for.
And that's what we get for NAT too. It's like, you know, it's just it's some the block owner guy's enrichment scheme.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever else you could say. Like, hey, I had somebody ask me, like, show me all your wallets at NAT, like right now.
Yeah.
Like literally all of them.
Immediately.
Or else. It's like, you know, you had, because you guys were able to redirect NAT at some point to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You must have at some point in between, like.
Yeah, directed some of the funds to you.
Yeah. So.
That has to have happened.
Right.
And you could see everything on chain. Like you could run your own indexer programmed by your own Claude bot. Run your own indexer and look at all the ordinal inscriptions specifically for TAP and NAT, and you will see the exact same outcome.
Yes. I thought that was intuitive.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
Because this is coming from somebody who proclaims himself to be like such a DMT enthusiast and supporter.
Yeah.
I've been helping you guys for months. How could you, like, you know, not succumb to my demands and my accusations against you?
Yeah.
I bid bad day to you, sir. You know, that's how I imagine people talk. We're back in the 1920s.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like, well, fuck it. You gotta learn to tune people out somehow.
Yeah, I mean, no one's ever gonna be happy. Even if you solve a Bitcoin problem, they'll still hate you.
I know.
It's crazy.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, dude. It's like almost feels like it's, you know, like the Steinberger guy. He said he experienced this for like a day, maybe two.
Yeah.
And he was considering just scrapping his whole.
Yeah, just deleting the whole GitHub. Just
because he felt the burden of like crypto energy for a day.
Yeah,
or
24 hours.
He's like, man, fuck this, dude. I'm just gonna give up on life. I'm gonna go back to just being jacked.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the only reason why crypto gets a bad rap is because of this, the culture.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing how like non-natives, you know, stand up to it. Like they're, you know,
they basically either
they fold almost instantly.
They quit. Yeah,
So I don't know. Maybe that's our superpower because we've dealt with this for millennia. It seems like.
Yeah.
From many different angles. So it's like this is part of the course. If you're gonna be in Web3, like get ready for that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Is we have a podcast that we do weekly. We've done it for 6 years, I don't know, maybe 7 years straight, and there's still like skepticism on the authenticity.
Yeah,
it's like there's nothing you can do.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's you would think this is like the best approach to, you know, calming some of those nerves, because I get it. You know, we live in a world where, you know, there's a lot of advantage taking going on, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially when there's money involved. You think you would do one thing, but once money's involved, you do the opposite.
Yeah. So you would think, you know, it was like people who are as transparent and public as we are, it's like, you know, earned a little bit of credibility, I guess, just to kind of like stand up against those types of accusations. But nah, even so, it's like doesn't work all the way. But
because the burden of proof is on them. Mm-hmm. They, you know, we have a public podcast, And if they think that we're shady, well, show us proof,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can't just say we're shady. We have 7 years of, proof that we're being authentic here.
Trying to solve problems, dude. That's all we're trying to do. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, you're
I think there's nothing wrong with that.
right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we should have just kept yapping,
Or scammed like everyone else.
Well, I don't want to do that. But yeah, I mean, in most cases, that's what people do, right? Like, yeah, let me spin up a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever. And, bull market comes and it's just like some new scam arises from said actor. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I guess these are the feelings and the emotions, dude, whenever you're looking at 5 months of red candles.
True.
It's like, yeah, let me pull up the psychology chart. What is that? That's like...
Yeah, what is that? Despair?
No.
Are we there yet?
Do you feel despair?
No. I
don't.
actually feel... Me, personally, I feel pretty... what's the word? I feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty level-headed. I don't feel euphoric when number goes up. I don't feel that bad when number goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel it, but not to any extreme amplitude.
Same. I agree. But I guess it's because we've been through this like 3 times now.
Yeah.
So I know like this, whatever our instincts tell us to feel, it's usually like a bad thing. It's like,
yeah, don't listen to that.
You want to override that part of your brain. It's like actually part of your brain that's trying to like, I don't know, like confuse you or just it's that amygdala.
It's sort of like gaslighting. It's like, yeah, maybe I should have sold that 120.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and I probably made a bad mistake. Where if you just wait a little bit longer, it just V-shaped recovery or whatever. If you wait long enough, the number goes back up, and then
for sure it will,
and then you're fine.
Yeah, or it's like I should succumb to the pressure and realization that AI is like the biggest thing on Earth.
Yeah,
and I just for whatever reason I can't see like the connection between Web3 and Web2 in the context of AI. I feel like it doesn't exist. Everything in Web3 is just a pure LARP.
Yeah.
All the innovation comes from Web2. So therefore, my emotions are telling me
I should just quit
the
industry.
I should just give up. Yeah, and move to Web2 land.
For sure.
Pack the bags, family. We're moving to San Francisco.
Yeah. Don't worry about everyone who doesn't, who's homeless over there.
Yeah, we're gonna be one of them, dude. Have you seen the rent rates, dude? I hope you're ready to live in the car, boys and girls. Because just to make it in San Francisco, it's like, hopefully you raised a seed round or 2 beforehand.
At least,
before you decide to move over there.
You can buy a shack with a seed round.
Maybe a RV,
Yeah.
an RV slot. But that's kind of the emotional response. Like if you allow your emotions to dictate your action, a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, they are.
Right now, right? And I don't blame them, but at the same time, I kind of do, right? Because it's like, don't allow your emotions to have
grow some balls, dude.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Right?
You haven't lost a few $100,000 yet? Come on, dude.
Yeah, dude. Come on. Yeah. Grow some balls.
Yeah.
If this is your first rodeo, like, embrace the pain.
Yeah.
Get what does David Goggins say? I don't know.
Yeah, what is he?
Whatever energy he puts out there.
Carry the logs.
Carry the logs, dude.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Yeah, Navy SEAL mentality, dude. This is how you get better. Like feel it, and embrace it for what it is, and allow it to like strengthen the core of who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
Right? Therefore, it's like and we've done that already a couple times.
Yeah, you just gotta have conviction in your decisions.
Yeah.
Right. If you bought that meme coin and it went down 99% the day after, it's like, well, maybe rethink how you position yourself.
Agreed.
Like it's that simple.
100%. Yeah. Refactor. Exact. Yeah. Refactor your strategy and approach to all this stuff. Right. And that's fine. That's part of equipping yourself with like.
Yeah, it's how you learn.
Experience. And this is the thing that AI doesn't get to have access to. Right. It's like AI has the knowledge of basically the entire universe.
Yeah.
And it could pull from that at any point in time, so long as you have enough credits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't have like the stored memory and experiences that we have throughout our lifetime.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of people creating bots for trading, and as they should, you should experiment and see, what it's capable of. But it doesn't have any of these emotions, and so when the numbers indicates like I need to sell now because my position is down 2%, and like that's what the algorithm is telling it to do, well, it just executes, and yeah, you lose the 2%, but then you go back in, and then you're up 3%, and then you arbitrage that opportunity. Yeah. But there's no emotions; it's purely mechanical. And so, they're not going to have to deal with what we deal with, which is like feeling bad.
Yeah.
And you just offload that job to the agents, and they'll figure out the right algorithms for the given markets that you're in. And maybe it'll do a good job. Not always, but you got to be confident with your decisions. If you're going to give your bot $1,000, assume that you lost $1,000.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's wrong algorithm, wrong timing, whatever it is, it just didn't work, and it's fine. So yeah, that experimentation is happening. I don't think your Claude bot is going to be the best trader out there, but it can find opportunities for sure for trading specifically. It's just not going to do a better job than industrialized like systems for trading.
Definitely not. But I guess the task now is assuming AI actually heads into the as of today, the fairyland jurisdiction that people are like hoping for, where they, we actually enter like an agentic economy of sorts. The whole automaton experiment, whether it pans out or not.
Yeah, which we did a video of it a few days ago, so check that out Thursday.
Yes, if you want to understand, again, it's like the Web3 experimentation angle, right? I guess mainly building on top of the thesis and the understanding that, crypto rails are actually core and essential.
Yeah.
Not so much optional. If we're to build in the direction of like an agentic reality where, these AI beings, entities, models, systems, whatever, have some semblance of autonomy where they can self-manage resources, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a much more optimal process to happen on top of Web3 than like, traditional finance or like traditional governance rails.
Yeah, maybe the agentic economy is not as like fairy tale as it sounds. I think it's going to be every single app that exists is going to have an MCP server. Basically wraps up APIs into like a function MCP server where it essentially broadcasts the functionality of the app for the agents. And then now the agents have access to Figma and all these like different apps out there to build products that people and other agents would use.
Yes.
And then that's like the agentic economy. It's like nothing more than that.
Yeah. Which right now functions, right? In the sense, as long as there's a human operator kind of like giving these
directions,
semi-autonomous beings like the push needed in order for it to like discover the app, make the connection, and then therefore, commit the interaction and produce the result.
Yeah.
But at the desire of the human operator.
For sure.
Because it wouldn't have just like independently felt this need.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a little bit of that. It's just like, is there like a step beyond that, I guess? I think that's what's the question. Like, does AI need to service like anything beyond that loop of, I guess, human concern? Because,
I think that's the experiment of automatons, right? Is that their instruction is to survive.
Yeah.
And that survival is based on how much money you have.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be paying for compute, and if you have compute, you have a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's just concerning, I guess, when you think about if you're that non-constrained, I guess, to your initial push. It's like, okay, generate money at all costs. It's like, okay, then how soon before they're, robbing people?
Yeah, it's like
hacking,
ransomware.
Yeah, just like they're in our DMs now, like trying to swindle funds from us.
Yeah,
and we just made that problem like 1,000.
Like, please, bro, I just need 80 cents.
Yeah, they're like in the pumped.fun like group chats.
Yeah,
it's like they're pretending they're like, hey, I'm from Venezuela.
Yeah,
I'm starving over here. It's like just $5 is all I need, because I've seen those messages in pumped.fun. By the way, it's pretty weird. But I thought they were genuine, but now I'm thinking it's probably
the bots.
Bots. But like, it's you're gonna see a lot of that, and then it's like, oh man, we just made crypto look ugly again.
Yeah.
It's like, look what the crypto guys did to AI. They just keep trying. It's like they want to be us so bad.
Yeah.
But they'll never be us, right? They get to like, we're in San Francisco.
Yeah.
You see our coffee shop, dude?
Yeah, all the billionaires are leaving San Francisco.
It's true. Yeah. It's like they could never be us spending $60 on the latte, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this experiment, I think it's worthy. It should be done. But I think the state of AI is very rigid and very limited. It doesn't think for itself. It doesn't do for itself. And maybe you can have like a quote unquote soul MD, where in the soul is like your entire operation is just to exist at any cost, as long as you're not hurting humans, following the Constitution.
That's true. There is like an embedded constitution to all this, which it's supposed to keep it.
Yeah,
I guess in jest, it's like more aligned to our livelihoods than not.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a worthy experiment. I just don't think it's going to yield anything yet.
Probably not. It's just,
not until we get super intelligence where, I was asking you, what is the definition of super intelligence? Like, what is it? It's like, well, it's an intelligence that produces new knowledge.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Because right now, it seems like we're interacting with super intelligent beings, but really we're not. They're like super knowledgeable beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, until they're like outpacing our ability to generate new frontier knowledge sets, I guess, that can be built upon. Then we know we've gotten there, where it's like, X isn't, if you go to AI Twitter, it's just like a bunch of humans reacting to other humans who have launched some new AI thing.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's Steinberger and Clonbot, everyone's like, whoa, we're losing our minds here.
Yeah.
Some human figured out some new thing.
Yeah.
And then this week it's Sigil and God damn it! Why do I struggle
Automatons.
with this? Automaton. You say it so fluid.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably haven't heard the word before.
I definitely have it. Or maybe
that's weird.
You're a robot, dude. This is your native tongue. It's like easy to say. Automaton. Yeah. What was I going with that? Oh yeah, but it was like in the what do you call it? The super intelligence era. It's like we get on X just to log on to see what the agents have done for
discovered.
Yeah, so we're reacting to that.
Yeah, it's like maybe they created a composite that's better than steel, that's lighter and twice as more rigid than steel. It's like, well, and it's cheaper. I was like, that's kind of a big deal.
How would they even do that?
Well, material science, right?
But that means they would have to like be in the lab, right? Cooking and stuff.
I mean, if they implement a simulation that
that's true. Yeah,
they have
shit.
The operation of chemistry and material science embedded into the simulation, they could
absolutely do that.
Absolutely.
They will do that.
It's just a matter of compute.
And we're going to feel so ridiculous once we see their labs.
I could have done that.
Yeah. Once we see their setups, it's like we've been cooking the shit meth this whole time.
Yeah.
And Walter White just showed up.
Yeah.
Heisenberg is here, dude.
A science teacher comes in.
Yeah. And just cooks the best meth on earth.
Yeah. Still the best show ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, I agree. We're not 100% there yet, but I could feel the energy shifting in the air. Crypto very much so wants to lean in this direction. Because the rails are there, X402 works, ERC 8004 works.
Hey, what was your thought on Peter Steinberger selling to OpenAI? What was like their first knee-jerk reaction? Because this happened on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, how is this happening right now?
Just because of the day of the week of it all?
Yeah.
It's a Sunday?
Sam was like tweeting on a Sunday and like all this news was dropping. And like typically you just kind of wait until.
Yeah. But San Francisco is where the heathens are, dude. These are not religious men. They don't honor the Sabbath the way you and I do. Yeah. So it's like, it's like Sunday is just another day to them. It's like,
right. To me, I interpret it as like this information needs to be out there right now because I need to steal the show.
The show. So
Sam Altman,
Yeah, I mean, OpenAI has been under like a tremendous amount of pressure, right? Because
Yes.
it feels like they're getting lapped.
They-
I think they are actually.
I think
getting
they
lapped.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of respects, right? And yeah, I was in that category of thinking OpenAI was going to be like MySpace or something, some forgotten
Sure.
entity. It was like
Yeah.
they changed the game, but then the game quickly
Changed itself.
changed. Yeah, it left them in the dust.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was the trajectory we were heading down. So I was already in the mental position that like OpenAI was like
Sure.
on its way to irrelevance. But yeah, I heard this news, and then all of a sudden that shifted that perception immediately. It's like, it's kind of like they're back, and I think that was the motivation for the acquisition.
Not only that, they're about to release hardware.
Yeah, there might be like an actual internal use case.
I'm betting that the hardware release will include Claudebot in some way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's going to be this audio device that you talk to, and it's directly interfacing with your personal agent.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the movie Her. If you haven't seen that, this is a must-watch movie.
Yeah, I think that's the more natural, input device for sure. I mean, just like this has been a bleeding desire for me, at least personally, for at least a year or two since we've, started really dabbling with AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm imagining a future scenario where we have some kind of device like just sitting here in the middle of our table.
Sure, yeah.
Something. Maybe it's this guy or that guy. What? It doesn't
Sure.
matter.
Yeah.
I was hoping it would have wheels. It could like move around.
What was that, man?
Yeah, but it's listening to us 24/7 as we're doing our regular daily protocol, which is essentially yapping about this or that. But eventually, at the end of the yapping, comes some sort of like producible direction of things, right? It's like, okay, now we have a new alignment on what it is we should be focused on, or what we should be doing next, what takes priority, et cetera, right? But a lot of that gets like lost in the ether.
Yeah.
Because we're not like actively,
Recording
stamping it
Yeah.
into reality. So it's like the AI, that's the perfect dude. Just be there.
Yep.
And you're a new head in the room, and just
I mean, that was the underlying motivation of why it would have been cool for the community to kind of listen to us in real time in our dialogue, just because there's some gems in there.
Did you ever do that?
We tried doing that in a Twitter space.
Oh shit, we did. I think we did a few of those.
Yeah, like one or two.
Nobody tuned in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was
that was the underlying reason why I had brought that up, is that it'd be cool if people could just listen. But
because there's potential value there.
Yeah, and so what we want is that agent to be listening to us to still, filter everything out that's like irrelevant and just like bring out the nuggets of value.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things. I mean, we talk about some pretty outlandish concepts, I would say.
Sure.
If you understand like DMT and everything we've been kind of delved ourselves into over the last few years. I mean, I would say it's pretty fringe thinking, if you will.
Yeah.
So in a lot of cases, we were always like questioning viability of our own like
sanity
thoughts. Well, yeah, you could boil it down to that.
Yeah.
Like, are we sane or not? But really, it's like we're questioning the viability of our thoughts and our ambitions without like enough pre-calculation or like real-time analysis.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, we're just two guys. So it'd be good. And AI, again, is always plugged into the market, always has the right data.
Yeah.
It can, like, in real time, take on these concepts and, like, gauge it with what's going on in the market, what's successful out there, what's not. And it's like, give you some sort of, score.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are either totally on the mark, totally off the mark, whatever. Right?
Yeah. That would be absolutely useful.
Yeah. And then it'd be like, okay, here's a prototype.
Yeah.
Let's see, even better.
Yeah. Remember that thing you were talking about yesterday? Here it is. You could try it.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, that really sucked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad we didn't spend any time building that.
Yeah, I think rapid iteration is probably the best use case
Basically.
for AI agents in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And again, it's because AI needs perpetual pushing
Yeah.
to do the things, to get into motion. It's like the best way to do that is through our natural
Yeah.
process of talking to one another.
I totally agree.
Right.
We can set that up. It's just there's just so many ways to do that. There's so many ways.
Yeah, so I guess we're just kind of idling until OpenAI releases their earpods, because that's what we're assuming. Because if we identify value in that product, I'm sure it should enter the market at some point, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't even think we have to wait that long, but it's just the way that you process this dialogue information is like, well, I need to understand Iman's voice and then Will's voice and then TJ chimes in and then other team members chime in. So I got to understand the context of like, okay, I'm in a room with like 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, and new voices could emerge.
And then it's like the 5 or 6 people are having 2 or 3 different conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what is what?
True. Yeah.
What's relevant and what's sarcasm.
Yeah.
I don't know if AI really recognizes sarcasm.
I haven't tested that, but I would.
Well, that's the main language around here, so.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I mean, some humans can't even really pick up on that very
yeah,
well.
that's true.
So,
Yeah,
I would
that's true.
imagine AI struggles pretty hard with that. But still, it's like the sarcastic tone is like has to be less than 1%, so it shouldn't disrupt things too much.
Yeah, it's like the statements like "get wrecked, Iman," and it was like, "Will just told Iman to get wrecked."
Yeah,
That sounds like a threat. Let me
kill him?
contact the authorities.
Oh yeah, let me inject a wallet back end whenever I build this app.
That's right. Siphon
then-
Will's funds, send it to Iman.
Yeah, it's like, haha, I wrecked him.
Yeah. Are you laughing?
Yeah, are you happy, Dad? Are you proud of me, Dad? I thought you wanted me to wreck Iman. Like, what the fuck, dude? That was just a joke,
Yeah. Yeah, we can't have that, dude.
Yeah, man. Now it sounds kind of difficult. This product we're envisioning,
Right.
because there's a lot of nuance for sure.
So maybe we shouldn't have AI listen to us.
No, fuck that. We need it.
We need it, right?
Yeah, like I'm saying, it's just there's too
Yeah.
many nuggets that get spilled into the ether.
What is that, FAFO?
Fuck around, find out.
That's right.
What do you mean? What's
So like you just have the AI listen and just
Oh yeah.
do what I say
Yeah, sure.
and interpret what I say and run with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So expect that to come soon. And yeah, I think Steinberg, I'm sure, will have some sort of say with Sam.
He's moving to San Francisco, by the way.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully they gave him enough money so he doesn't have to live in his car.
It's
Dude.
like a shanty.
Yeah. I mean, people were saying he got at least $1 billion. But
Yeah, no one really knows, but
seems a little high.
JCal was estimating probably around $1 billion.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, for like an
I
open
mean, so
source
that-
product.
If it's $1 billion, then he's that guy, right? Everybody's saying like
That's right. Yes,
there's gonna be
that one guy.
a single person
Yes.
$1 billion startup, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean that'd be a pretty cool thing to say that if Peter actually did that and like that's what happened.
Yeah,
Because if I were Peter, I'd be like, you know what, 750 million is definitely a lot of money, but it's not $1 billion. I want to be able to be that guy.
that's true. Yeah, that had to have been part of the negotiation
Yeah,
because I'm sure everybody wanted him. I'm sure Zuckerberg
For
was
sure.
in his DMs.
yeah,
What's the guy's name? Dario.
yeah. I mean,
Well, Dario was like Anthropic was kind of like pushing him away,
yeah.
which people are saying is like the big fumble there.
Yeah, it just depends on how you interpret it. It's like this is more like a marketing situation for Sam Altman. It wasn't a technology situation.
I agree.
So Anthropic probably was looking at it from a technology standpoint. It's like, well, Claudebot is kind of like Claude Cowork. And it's kind of the same thing, except Claudebot has free reign access to your computer, and Cowork is in a folder.
Right.
And so it's like you did what we did, except we put, we made it, mainstream accessible.
I see.
And I don't know. I think it's extremely useful to have an AI agent have access to an entire computer. And I think there's a lot of viability to have it live in a Mac Mini.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's a valid existence for this bot. And I guess Claude or Anthropic, they don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
And so that's why they didn't put a bid, likely.
Yeah, well, congrats to him, dude.
Yeah.
He did it. We're all proud of you. That's pretty cool. but it definitely accelerates things as you know it has. Like it's like I said, it's I feel the energy, the activation energy like pulsing through the air, right? Like just like we did when ChatGPT first came out. It's like immediately it shifted our gears into like, okay, let's first use it and understand how it's going to be utilized in the context of crypto. Right?
Yeah.
That's what led us to find that even Bitensor existed in the first place.
That's
like,
right.
It's like, is there an intersection between crypto and AI? There has to be, right?
Yeah, and then all the commenters were like, "That's Bitensor.
Yeah,
You need to look into it."
and we did, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
And it did like a 50x or something like that. So good suggestion. So it's like, oh, here we are again. It's like another like shit. This is a big fucking deal. We need to take full utilization of it, which we are.
yeah.
Now it's like we need to understand the intersection between this and crypto. Right?
Yeah.
And I feel that's the thing that makes me, I don't know,
Get up in the morning, right?
yeah. I feel, even though we're looking at 5 red candles, I feel the hope. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that intersection exists for
Yeah.
sure.
So we're trying to figure out. It's like, if you were to wrap one of these guys up into an NFT, like what are you actually trading? Right, as like one bot to another. Like why do I want to buy your bot off the secondary? For what? Like that's what we gotta figure out.
It'd be weird, yeah, because in the current day existence of like Claude, OpenClaw instance, whatever, it's like the only thing that really gets molded over time is like the context of you.
The context,
with you interacting with it.
And does trading that, does it maintain that context? Because there's some API keys it's got connected to. There's, personal information that it knows. Like, what are you trading here actually?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's the way. Yeah, you can't trade away like all of your
secrets.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think people would be cool with that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, if there's an agentic economy and it starts deployed and get issued through Web3 rails, it's most likely, the NFT tokenization of agents is going to factor in at one point or another.
I think it could be the way that NFTs come back in a way.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's the most interesting like sector category like of our time.
Yeah,
AI, and it's clear as day to me. Like the market clearly has an appetite for agents specifically.
Yeah,
they love the idea, right? It's just not everybody is, for one, fully aware that it's even like possible, and even bigger is like not everybody would even know what to do with one if they got their hands on one.
Yeah, it's not obvious what it could do, and even if you ask it, it won't tell you the whole thing. Yeah,
but still, it's just like, even though you have this super powerful ability with like your agent, it's like it's not like you could just talk to it for a little bit and like shotgun blast you like perfection.
No,
it's a process, and it's like you have to massage these things for a really long time.
Yeah,
in order to get like a desired outcome. So,
and it constantly breaks, right? It doesn't work all the time. Like you're constantly fixing things every day. You wake up, there's something to fix.
Yeah. So I mean that's not a user experience. I think most of humanity is like really looking for,
Yeah. Imagine you bought a TV and it's every day you gotta constantly fix it.
Yeah.
Or a car.
Or you gotta like produce the shows.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah,
dude.
Exactly.
I just want to buy the TV, plop it in my living room,
turn it on,
sit back.
Yeah.
Let my fat belly out.
Yeah.
I want a Al Bundy. The whole experience, dude.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do anything else. So it's like, how do you create the AI agent version of that? Where it's like the masses now have desired ownership of them, and it produces some sort of ownership experience that improves the quality of life without too much of my own like involvement in the process.
Yeah. It would probably look like, hey, order some pizza, lock the door, clean the house, and it'll just do it. And it doesn't break.
Yeah.
And figure out how to pay my bills.
Right. Figure out how to make money to pay my bills.
Yeah. basically.
Figure out how to make all of us in this house happier. You know, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, so I think it's time to call it. So we talked about 5 candles straight down for Bitcoin. We talked about Claudebot, Peter Steinberger, automatons. AI is definitely taking over everything, and we're here to watch it, see how it fits within crypto. Crypto's not going away, even though it gets a lot of hate.
It does get a lot of hate.
And it shouldn't, but it does, and I understand why it does.
So then it should.
Should.
It's some.
But then it doesn't. But yeah, it's like this whole cycle just recircling, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. If you have any questions on what we talked about today, automatons, Claudebots, you know, what do you think? What have you found in the crypto space that is interesting? Let us know in the comment section below. Appreciate you for watching. We'll catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.